When we're talking about fractals in human design, a lot of people look at the nodes, and I'm not sure why this is because Ra himself has explained this in many occasions. Like in the book History of Geometry, he even gets this question about whether the matching environments or the matching nodes would mean a fractal relationship, to which he very clearly answers no, that is not the case. Fractals don't begin in movement, they begin in consciousness. And in human design, your consciousness, well, that part that reincarnates again and again, is carried in your personality crystal. And this personality crystal is in your personality sun and earth variable in your human design chart. Because here is where you can clearly see, where you can clearly find the properties of crystals, which are the base tone and color. These things are only possible in a crystal and nowhere else. So the personality crystal, that is your personality sun, the 70% of the imprint on this crystal represents your purpose. It's what you're here to express, and it's conscious. So we are all aware, we're all conscious of our purpose. We all are able to think about our purpose. 70% of the imprint on the mind means something that we're thinking about 70% of the time, or let's just say majority of the time. And for us, it is our purpose. It's what we're continuously thinking about. What are we here to do? Why are we here? Where are we meant to go? But the mistake that we all make is that we try to reach that purpose from the same place we see it, from the mind. Your purpose is not a goal that you need to achieve. It's something that is revealed, and it unfolds through this geometry that is far bigger than just you, than your mind. You are capable of imagining it, dreaming about it, thinking about it, but you're not able to achieve it on your own, not from the mind. And that is why it's necessary to start this at the beginning, at the movement. And that movement is your nodes, specifically design nodes. When we correctly surrender to our design nodes, and I'm talking about the gates and lines, the themes of them, and not your color. I'm not talking about the mountain and the cave and that stuff. I'm talking about nodal gates and lines. When we correctly surrender to these themes, which we find so incredibly uncomfortable, and that is exactly why this is not a simple thing to do. It's difficult to admit these things to ourselves, to allow ourselves to face these things that we find so triggering and traumatizing and uncomfortable, the things that we always want to avoid. But surrendering to this, finally accepting to step on our line of geometry, which always follows us anyways, is what then moves us. It aligns our crystal. It aligns our design crystal. That is why this is so connected. We have the environment being below the design crystal in the chart. So the design crystal is something that is dependent on the correctness of the environment, of that surrender to our line of geometry. Nodes are lines of geometry. That's what it is. That's what they are. That's how they were described from the beginning by Ra. Now, when we look at our personality sun and we're looking at this purpose, we're looking at this thing that our minds are constantly occupied by. You can imagine having these 4 worlds, 4 realms, and these are the 4 quarters of incarnation. We have the quarter of initiation, quarter of civilization, quarter of duality, and quarter of mutation. Each one of these worlds is a home to 2 different civilizations, 2 lands, 2 expressions of that quarter's theme. So in the world of initiation, in the quarter of initiation, we have a civilization of fire ruled by Kali and Mitra, civilization of thunder ruled by Michael and Janus. Then we have a world of civilization, quarter of civilization, where we have a civilization of earth, which is ruled by Maya and Lakshmi, civilization of mountain ruled by Parvati and Mat. We have the world of duality, with civilization of water ruled by Thoth and Harmonia, civilization of wind ruled by Christ and Minerva. We have a quarter of mutation with civilization of heaven ruled by Hades and Prometheus, and civilization of Lake, ruled by Vishnu and the keepers of the wheel. And where do these come from? They come from the I Ching, from the original I Ching. They come from the 8 trigrams. And those are, as I mentioned, heaven, earth, water, fire, etc. Now, each one of the godheads rules over a family of 4 gates. These gate families are part of what we call a fractal. It's a grouping of people who are carrying the same, who are coming from the same bundle. So fractals exist because crystals reincarnate in clusters. So you were born from a crystal bundle, just like others who carry gates from your same fractal family. On a small scale, we can call this a family, but on a large scale, it's a civilization. So your personality sun gate is your individual potential among this grand purpose of your quarter. It's not random. It's influenced by the Godhead that rules your civilization. And this is why I believe human design is for children. I don't believe in raising our children by having a projector child and saying, I invite you to eat dinner. I invite you to put on your shoes. That is nothing. It means nothing. But the thing with the children is that they don't have built identities around belief or programming when they're young enough. So they are not serving a Godhead yet. They're still pure potential. And our job is not to control them, but to nurture that potential by supporting the team of the civilization that they're coming from. You don't have to be from the same fractal as your child, but you can support their geometry. So for example, when we have a quarter of initiation, these are the children that can be nurtured and supported into learning how to be leaders. Let's really generalize this, right? These would be children who can benefit from a lot of mental stimulation, who maybe would do very well in a typical school setting. Then we have a quarter of civilization, the builders of the world. It's the children that, or the people that come to their purpose from the mind, from the form. This would mean, how this would look like in nurturing that potential in a child is by having them do things with their hands, having them move their bodies, dance, exercise, putting them in those kinds of activities, having them learn with their hands, not write numbers in maths, but teaching them maths using manipulative so that they can feel the value of a number rather than try to mentally understand it. And then we have the quarter of duality, which are children that have to be, their relationships are something that really needs to be nurtured. So it's not just relationships with people, but also with animals, with plants, teaching them how to care for something, teaching them how to nurture something, how to help something else grow, how to support others. And then we have the quarter of mutation, which are the changers of the world. And this is really very open-ended, but in my opinion and my assumption would be an environment similar to a Montessori type of learning, where there is guidance from adults, but there is no, special directive. There is no focus on one specific theme like with the other 3. If you look at the mandala, if you look at each quarter, you find that it contains 4 zodiac signs, each one of them, 2 yin and 2 yang. So it's a perfect balance. So my assumption is that people from the same fractal family would represent the yin and the yang expression of a single a family, right? You can see it here in the image. So when we're talking about soulmates and concepts like that, I believe that this is where they're found. being from the same fractal family means being this balance. It's not about the divine masculine and divine feminine. I think this got interpreted in a way too literal way. It's not about what your like body or your mind or your feelings are about each one of these polarities, but it is about where you're coming from. It's kind of like what they talk about, the contracts that we sign before the incarnation. Well, some of those come from the yin realm and some come from the yang realm, but they have nothing to do with your sex, your gender, your identification, none of that. So I want to say this once again because I do think it's very important to remember that sun is 70% of the imprint on your mind. It's not something that you need to try to become. It's not who you are right now. It's what you are thinking about all the time. When you look at your earth, you can find out more about your conscious reaction to this imprint. So yes, the energy of the sun is something that will dominate this side of consciousness. But here's the paradox. The sun is the destination. But the problem is that we keep trying to start from there. You don't get to your purpose from the mind. You surrender to the path first, which means honoring your design nodes and let the body walk the path. Let the mind see clearly through the personality nodes. Only then does your sun rise. Not as an ambition, not as something you need to put effort in, but just as a result of everything else being aligned. Ra called the personality Sun Earth the display of mastery. It's never the starting point, it's the end point.